Anytime I saw the average business owner go from 1 to 2, they go broke.
Yep.
Because it's easy in your mind to go, I can rationalize 2 until the second one's not working, and it pulls you off the 1. Let's get back to business for a second. So first of all, congratulations on recovering. Congratulations on being committed to helping others do it. It's hard enough to build a business, let alone all that influence, dramatics, passion, pain. It's really hard to build a business, any business, where that's involved as a normal data point every day.
Yep.
So you build these businesses up from your 3 bedrooms, right, to 325 employees. Like, what are some of the things on that journey as a business owner? Because I talk a lot about break points, 3 million, 8 million, 15 million. Like, what were your personal kind of professional and financial break points while you scaled and grew your business to 55 million?
God, we could spend all day talking about this. I remember employee number 1. Like the decision to hire the first guy to help me out doing some of this stuff. I've never had a job. I mean, I was a drug dealer and a stick-up kid until I got sober, and worked in construction a little bit, and then started this business. And so I was learning how to fly the plane at 40,000 feet for all of it. And I started sales and seeing needs and services and things that this population needed. And so I started to meet those needs, which grew my business. And then I started to build and hire team members. And before I knew it, I just kind of figured it out. And in 2011, I was 3-4 years in, I cleared my first $1 million. Not bad from 21 years old, homeless heroin addict, getting sober with 2 pairs of clothes, sleeping on a couch, to 26 years old, I made my first $1 million. And, you know, as I grew, there were a lot of things that I had to figure out. I had to figure out how to create systems. You know, when I had one facility, it was a totally different animal. There were so many unexpected things from when I opened 2.
So my rule of 3 is you never go from 1 to 2. You go from 1 to 3, and then 3 to 9, and then 9 to 27. And that's true for hiring people, and it's true for opening new facilities.
I love that. I've actually never heard that before, and I love that.
That's just from buying 130 businesses and then franchising and licensing, and then all the research I did on the thousands of industries that we broke down from 2009 to 2019. Anytime I saw the average business owner go from 1 to 2, they go broke.
Yep.
Because it's easy in your mind to go, I can rationalize 2 until the second one's not working, and it pulls you off the 1. But if you have to go to 3, then you pause and you're like, well, I don't have the resources to go to 3, and I certainly don't have the team to go to 3, and I don't have the systems to go to 3, so I better build all that before I go to 3.
Yeah.
And it causes you to think differently. Same with an employee. You can always hire one person. But now if it doesn't go right, you're like, is it me? Is it them? You need context and contrast. You hire 2 and one's doing great and one sucks. You're like, it's not me. It's the employee I got to get rid of.
Yep.
But every time you just do a one-off thing, you don't have any context or contrast, and it's easy to rationalize it, but it's hard to execute it.
Absolutely.
So you went to 2 and you're getting banged around a bit.
And I think a key leading characteristic to entrepreneurs is optimism, because I got banged around as being modest. I got my ass kicked every day growing that business. And I went from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. And all of a sudden, 5 years, 6 years had passed, 2016, 17, and I have a real business. I have hundreds of employees. I have multiple sites, and I'm doing big numbers in revenue, and I'm making a ton of money. And I don't know the first thing about a leadership team, about an org chart, about KPIs, about systems. All of that was a foreign language to me. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have any teachers or anyone to learn from that had participated in business at that level. And mind you, I live in New Hampshire. I grew up in New Hampshire. This is one of the biggest companies at this point in the state that's not a national chain. And so I just didn't have really people to learn from. And I had 20-something direct reports at that time. I had everybody. I had HR, finance, each facility's executive director, admissions, marketing. I had everyone reporting to me. I had just all kind of mid-level managers and no C-level and no top-tier executives. And so one of the things that's interesting that I did, you talk about those little moments like being number 3 for the police school or whatever that change your life forever. I always did my best to put myself in the room and put myself around the best people. And I would describe myself, and I would describe most successful entrepreneurs as a sponge, right? I like to ask more questions and listen more than I like to talk, because I'm able to get a lot of value that way. And so one of the things things that I did was I bought an incredibly expensive to me at the time home in New Hampshire and got into this neighborhood. Guy that owns drug rehabs, moving into the most prestigious neighborhood in the state. 2017, I'm walking my dog through the neighborhood and I see one of the neighbors, guy named wonderful man, one of the greatest mentors and teachers I've ever had. His name's Joe. And I see Joe and he's all happy. Joe talking to him. He says, yeah, man, I just closed my deal. I said, what do you mean you closed your deal? So I just sold my business and it's his business, but it was I had a 9-figure exit, and he told me about it, and I was like, and it just sparked it. I'd never met anyone that had sold a company before. I'd never considered selling my company before. I knew nothing about it, and it just gave me the door cracked open, this little peek hole into like, oh, there's a lot more for me to learn here. This guy just sold his business for hundreds of millions of dollars, and so I just asked him, I said, Joe, would you be willing to have lunch with me? I just want to ask you some questions and learn more about this. We got lunch the next week, and that really opened the door into my self-education process of learning business at the level in which it takes to participate in private equity, M&A, and all of that. And eventually, it was his family office that invested the first 3 rounds. And so it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I sold him 10% at a $40 million valuation for $4 million. I sold him shortly thereafter another 10 for 5. And then the business valuation went up to 80 million and I sold him, I think 18.75% or something like that. I took another 15 million off the table.
Most business owners don't understand what happens when you take a slug of money off the table. And your confidence level.
It absolutely does. It gives you confidence and it gives you speed, because when I was building, I never took a dollar of investment money or a dollar of debt. I started the business at the beginning of the recession of 2008. Banking was shut down. And so I just got used to making money, earning money, and putting it back into the business. And so you talked about like having 9-figure value. There's a lot difference between having a business that's worth 9 figures and having that liquidity. And so everything I had was in the business, and all the money that I was making, I was living a very modest lifestyle for the numbers that I was touching, and all the money that the business was making, I was putting right back in. So every single problem that the business had, every HR issue, every time we got sued by an employee, every regulatory issue, felt like I was dodging headshots in the Matrix.
Yep.
And when I was able to take that money off the table, I was like, okay, I could take a hit in the business and not have to move out of my house. I have a contingency plan with this money that's off the table. And so that certainly helped. The other thing that I don't think a lot of business owners understand is the value add of bringing sophisticated people to the table. The value, all in all, he gave me, I think, $24 million. He gave me $24 million in those 3 parts put together. That is nothing compared to the education that I got in the several years that we were partners and the experience that I had with that. That was invaluable.